Hello, and welcome to the Elon community. We are so excited that you all chose to join us this evening, and we're really looking forward to helping you get some of your questions answered. So first, let's start with some introductions. My name is Shakori Fletcher. I'm a senior this year at Elon, a broadcast and new media major, and professional sales and statistics minor.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Aki. I'm currently a junior, majoring in management, minor in entrepreneurship.
Hi, I'm Madeline Terry. I'm a junior and I'm a public health major.
Hi, I'm Liza. I'm a junior and I'm a strategic communications major.
Hi, my name is Evan Gaddy and I'm Associate Professor of Art History and the Associate Director of the Elon Core Curriculum.
So before we get started, I do want to point out that we are going to do our best to answer all of the questions that you all might have about getting to campus in the spring, but we will have a portion at the end of the session where you can actually send in your questions for us to answer. So if you think of anything you'd like for us to answer for you, hold on to those questions and make sure to send them in at the end, and we'll tell you when is the time to do that. So now I think it'd be a good time to kind of start with something that makes Elon unique, and that's engaged learning, the ability for Elon students to really be able to kind of put their knowledge to test in lots of different engaging ways. So Dr. Gaddy, can you start us off with kind of what is engaged learning and really how does that come to play within the classroom?
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. It's one of my favorite things about Elon as well.
Great.
And I think the most important thing to know when you're coming to Elon is that engaged learning can look like a lot of different things here. One of the important things is that engaged learning is the responsibility of the student to bring that engagement. But then once you do that, it can look like reading an article before class and coming in and leading class in small group discussion. It can look like having a conversation in the Colosseum in Rome. It can look like working in an internship. It can look like a lot of different kinds of things. But the important thing is that you are responsible and you're responsible with your peers and with your professors about engaging with the material and having this active learning environment, whether it's sitting in a desk or whether it's sitting behind a desk in an internship or wherever Elon might take you.
Awesome. I know for me, a personal example I had of engaged learning was this past semester as a statistics minor, one of my statistics courses, where we had the opportunity to have a community partner project where we could choose a community partner to work with and then develop a survey for that community partner. And so my project was with the Red Cross, where my group actually worked with the Red Cross to develop a survey where they could get more information about kind of how their promotional advertising is kind of paying off and brand awareness. And then we worked out throughout the course of the semester on that project and then deliver our recommendation to them, kind of a statistical consultation at the end of the semester. So it really kind of put that engaged learning into play, being able to put course room, kind of classroom concepts to life. Do you all have some other examples of engaged learning?
Yeah, so my favorite part of engaged learning is more on the classroom side. So in my entrepreneurship minor specifically, one of the things that I really enjoy is that our professors, instead of giving us the answer through a lecture or a PowerPoint, they give us a process to find the answer, and then they expect individual students and then other groups to really come to that conclusion on their own, which I really enjoy. For example being this past semester, we learned about venture capital. And so instead of learning about what it is, we actually reached out to venture capitalists in the area, and they pretty much consulted us on our entrepreneurial ideas. So a lot of fun. How about Madeline, Liza, do you guys have any?
For me, the engaged learning aspect kind of happens more outside of the classroom. For my major, I'm required to complete a practicum, which is kind of like a field experience. And so this J term, I will be going to the health department to kind of put into place some of the things I've learned about in my public health classes. So I'm really excited about that.
Awesome.
My experiences have also been more outside of the classroom. This past summer, I had an internship. And in my interview, they asked me if I could work certain programs and if I knew how to do certain things. And I was able to say yes, just because I'd learned it in the classroom.
Perfect.
I think one thing I'd add really quickly is one of the things that I love hearing is that to bring that enthusiasm you bring in when you think of engaged learning as in the community, like the enthusiasm I heard in all of your voices, to bring that into the classroom as well, even on a day when it seems like you're just doing traditional classroom learning. Engaged learning means you're kind of thinking about how this might translate outside of that too. It's a way of making every day as exciting as these other kinds of experiences.
Perfect. That's a great point. And I'm glad you ended with experiences because that's where we're heading next, talking about Elon experiences as the way where really that engaged learning mindset happens not only on campus, but across the country and really across the world because of those 5 Elon experiences we have, which are global engagement, internship, service, study abroad, and undergraduate research. So Patrick, do you want to touch on those first and kind of talk about what they are and some of the ways you've taken advantage of them?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what they are just ways that we really carry out this engaged learning. So we talked about some of these experiences happen inside the classroom, some of them happen in the local community, some of them happen in the global community as well. So the underlying goal here is that these are experiences that really we want our students to know and practice. And I'm sure you've heard this term, Dr. Gaddy, just continuous learning, continuous education, which I think is really rooted in all 5 of those. But my favorite experience, or one of the ones I've completed, is leadership. So being a president of an on-campus student organization, I was able to complete kind of a self-reflective semester where I reflected on how I grew as a leader and also how I impacted the community. And so really a good example of connecting the experience back to education and back to kind of self-improvement and global improvement as well. Anybody else care to Shakira, I know you've done quite a few experiences. So
I have. I'm just fortunate to kind of take advantage of some of them. I studied abroad this past spring semester in Spain, and so that was my global engagement Elon experience. I completed internships last summer in Boston, EMC technology with Insight Sales, and this past summer I was in New York with NBC Universal in their ad sales department. I did undergraduate research my sophomore year. That was really exciting. That was from a trip to Berlin where we brought answers back and kind of looked at the future of the internet. So I've had some really awesome opportunities to kind of take advantage of those. Again, not only on campus, also that undergraduate research I presented at the University of Kentucky. So out around the country and in New York and Boston, but then also across the world with Berlin and Spain. So kind of to look more at the academic side of the engaging, what really Elon offers as a unique experience, one to talk more about the core curriculum, how we all know we're a liberal arts university and kind of we know what that means for us. But Dr. Gaddy, can you talk about more of the core curriculum and kind of what it is, how it works, and how it's a benefit to students?
Yeah. So I won't go into the details of the core curriculum because I know that everyone can find that on the website and lots of information about it. But I think there are some important things to think about. And some of them are really exciting and maybe you haven't thought of them and they really make Elon unique. One of those exciting and unique things is that our Elon core curriculum is a 4-year curriculum. There's nothing you can get out of the way. It's 4 years. It comes back to haunt you, I'm sure. In some ways it seems like that, but it comes back not to haunt you, but to reiterate what you started with, and then you deepen it through your 2nd and 3rd years. And then your 3rd and 4th year, we have this fabulous thing called the Elon Core Capstone that asks you to think about your liberal arts experience, how your major connects to the things outside your major, your minors, your Elon experiences, and also those classes that you took in society, civilization, expression, science, those courses that you took, and try to make sense of them in some way. It's a tall order, but it allows you to reflect before you go out into the workplace, and then you are competing with students who might have similar majors that you have from similarly amazing schools, but maybe you don't have the depth and breadth in the liberal arts. So the core curriculum, the Elon, the ELR, so the engaged learning requirements are incorporated in that. So all of the things that you've all talked about, but then there are also opportunities and environments to have you study things that you didn't think you might be interested in before you came to Elon. So you might find that class in whatever is a passion for you and you'd never heard of it before you came here. So that core curriculum is a way to dive in. It's a way to be undecided for a little while, which is okay. And then it's a way to experience the breadth of the liberal arts as a companion to your majors and minors.
Perfect. That's also a great lead in. I know for me, I picked up a minor here that I never thought I would have as a graduating senior now. I always knew communications, so got here. That's actually how I found Elon, looking at the communications program. But once I got on campus, I was able to see, now I'm actually a part of 3 of our 4 different schools. So I'm a broadcasting and media major out of School of Communications, professional sales minor, which is the marketing equivalent out of School of Business, and then a statistics minor out of School of Arts and Sciences. And the statistics minor came up from taking the statistics course as a part of the core curriculum. And after that first statistics course, my professor pulled me aside and said, "Have you thought about minoring in statistics?" And at first I was like, no. And then I was like, maybe I can do this. And, so that, again, the relationships that professor kind of telling me I could probably gave me the confidence that I wouldn't have thought I could have outside of that conversation. But now, of course, academics is one side of things. And So another thing I do want to talk about is the balance of kind of being a part of the core curriculum in the liberal arts institution, but also being a president of an organization or being in intramural sports. Or for me, I also balance with also kind of my on-campus jobs. I've worked on campus since sophomore year. So another thing, kind of the point I'm getting at, is can you, Dr. Gaddy, talk about, and we'll get more into our student perspectives. So from the faculty perspective, can you talk about kind of some advice on really striking that balance between academic pursuits and co-curricular pursuits as well?
I will be brief here because you all are the experts in finding that balance. And the only thing I would add is that it helps to find mentors both among the students as soon as when you get here. Find people that you think are doing that well. Find people who seem to be engaged in their academics, but also finding ways to support themselves outside of the classroom. That continuous classroom idea means finding that balance, but also seek mentors in the faculty and in the staff here. Everyone is very committed to the whole Elon student, which is not always been my experience. So I think that it's different for everyone what that balance looks like, and I'm sure it's different for all of you, but I think finding mentors who will help you achieve that and realizing that everyone is going to balance these things differently. While always remembering that you are here to graduate. That no matter how many other things are going on, it does matter at the end of the day that you get your degree.
Exactly. Do you all have anything else to add? Any other advice?
I would definitely agree with the finding the mentor. In one of my classes this semester, it's been one of my hardest classes I've taken, and it's my anatomy class, and I'm wanting to go to physician assistant school when I finish here, and that takes a lot of guidance and a lot of help with like what to write in the essays and stuff like that. And he's really kind of helped me a lot with that. And he's like, I'll help you with that next semester since I'll need to apply next year. And so I'm really grateful for that kind of relationship that I built with him.
That's awesome. That's a great example. So now, since we have talked a lot about the academic side of the climate on campus, I do want to get more into you all's transition to campus and kind of getting here in the spring, because I'm sure that's what everyone watching is kind of really thinking about, looking forward now to being on campus. So can we start with kind of you all's experience, and can you tell us more about what it was like to get to campus in the spring, and really kind of what challenges did you face with entering Elon's community at that time?
Well, I started last spring. And it's definitely a weird transition because when I moved into my dorm, those 7 girls in my flat had all been living together. They had their own dynamic. They had it all worked out. So I kind of, in the beginning, felt a bit like the odd man out. So it was just kind of having to find that balance and getting comfortable, which of course I eventually did. But it is difficult just because you feel like everyone already has these relationships, but everyone's willing to let you in. They want to let you in. So just need to do it.
I had a very similar experience. I also moved into a flat where everyone else had been there, but I got really lucky that my roommate was also a transfer. So we kind of were in it together, and we just kind of hung out with each other for the first few weeks until we kind of got our bearings here on campus, and we ended up transitioning very well as well.
Perfect.
And I entered in the fall as a transfer student, but very similar to the spring in that it's a non-traditional transition. So I found that it was a little overwhelming. There was a lot of information, there was a lot of orientation, and it can at times seem that it's just a lot that's going on. But I kind of want to go back to that, finding faculty and peer mentors. I found at least half a dozen friends who were going through the same process, and I also found at least 2 or 3 of my professors that first week that just sat down with me and said, well, let me explain a little bit more about the curriculum and explain a little bit more about student organizations. And I found that getting involved with both mentors and with organizations is very, very important to just learning more about the community and learning more about how to be successful at Elon in general.
I'd underline maybe letting your faculty know that you're new to campus. Might be written somewhere, it might not be, but that can often help in the spring when I'm looking at my students. I'm thinking, oh, they've all transitioned here in the fall, and so you might identify yourself to the faculty member out in office hours or something, just to let them know that some of the stuff I do in the fall, I might also want to be thinking about in the spring when I'm talking about study habits and getting ready for students who are new to Elon for the first time. And I definitely recommend going to the engaged learning sessions that that will be happening right before classes start, because first of all, you're going to be in a room full of transfers. So you're going to be in a room full of people who are in the same boat, and it'll be able to be allies for you when you're going through this process. But there should be a lot of valuable information in those, just in terms of what to expect from Elon. And it is a little different from other universities in ways that we think are great, but there are some transition issues too, just thinking about whether you're a smaller place or a bigger place they're coming to.
Perfect. And can you all talk more about some of the actual aspects of the transition and maybe some of the resources that you had, or some of the things that you didn't know that now you do? Like, I know meal plan was something that came up, or the credit hour system.
Oh yeah, the meal plan was something that I really struggled with at first, because at the school that I was at previously, we just had a lump sum of money that just was kind of like a debit card. And when I came here, there was all these different aspects to the meal plan that I just had no idea what to use for which dining hall or facility on campus. And I just asked people. I was like, can you tell me what I used to buy this? And they were really willing to help me out. So that was really nice.
That's great.
And another thing that you might not know, and that Elon might differ from other schools that you've looked at, is our winter term. So we are on a 4-1-4 calendar, meaning that students will take 4 classes in the fall. They'll take 1 class during our winter term, or basically the month of January, and they'll take 4 classes in the spring. So new students this spring will be coming in February. That's the beginning of our spring semester. So you might hear some students talking about my winter term class, or what I did over fake break or J term. These are all terms that are associated with that one aspect of the 4-1-4 calendar. And you'll experience this very soon enough, but just that's something to remember to know, that this is usually a time where students will take 1 class. They might go abroad, they might work on a project or do undergraduate research, but there's a number of different options for that. Essentially, it's 1 semester packed into about a 3-week period. Do you guys have any fun winter term stories you want to share?
Well, this will be my first one.
Mine as well.
Oh,
So-
well, I
Mine
should.
too.
Well, Victoria and I will share.
Okay.
I choose to take a class that I'm not particularly thrilled or excited about over winter term. One that might be a little bit more challenging, one that might be part of the core curriculum, so outside of my major, and something that I particularly want to focus on and really devote all my resources and take that full class in. So that's usually my route. Corey, what about you?
So I did the same thing my sophomore year. My first year, I took my non-lab science credit my winter term. And so the thing about winter term, it is either taking a class you're not thrilled about and knowing that it will be kind of intense 3 weeks, because that's 3 weeks of non-thrilling things, but it is going. But then the benefit to that is that you can focus on it, and the balance of kind of every other class isn't there during winter term, where you can really kind of hone in on something. And then another year, my sophomore year, I took a class where we were on campus for 2 weeks, but we were also in Orlando for a full week for a media tour. So that's kind of a cool thing of, because since last year, my abroad program started during winter term, so I didn't have the opportunity to be on campus for winter term. But the sophomore year one was really cool because it was different vibes to it, where I could actually kind of still be on campus. And because Patrick, you know how like winter term is a different feel to it. It's very interesting, kind of how there's always the themes of winter term. So there's lots going on campus, but it definitely is kind of a unique time on campus. So it was cool to be able to get both a abroad or domestic abroad program experience as well as being on campus too.
One of the things that I think people don't know about winter term, or can get lost about winter term, is that it should be an opportunity for you to do something different. That we're as faculty, we're really encouraged to come up with winter term classes that are experimental or different, because you have that 3-week intense, that's your focus, and we can take you places because you don't have other classes. Mm-hmm. So it is a good time to think, when you're planning out your 4 years, 3.5 years, or 3 years, not more. Then you're thinking about something in that winter term being something different, taking advantage of something that you can't necessarily do, because you are fitting a whole semester into 3 weeks. So a whole semester of something that needs that time to process may not be the best choice.
That's true. So now for advice, can you all talk about some of the things that maybe to these incoming Elon students now, some advice you all would give to them to acclimating to the community?
Well, as I said before, you're coming in and you feel like everyone is so set and knows exactly what they're doing and has their group of friends. But I think it's important to remember that that's not necessarily true. So don't get nervous about that and hide away in your room, because that's something I kind of wanted to do, but I made myself go out and I did everything and I met as many people as possible, and it really helped just socially make the transition a lot easier.
Something that I wish, or something that I would say would be that kind of what I said about the meal plan. Don't be afraid to ask questions if you don't know something. Everyone's really nice and willing to answer your questions. So just don't be afraid to ask students or faculty.
And I'd say just be yourself. I think that all of our new students were chosen to attend Elon because we know that they're going to add a variety of different perspectives and ideas to our very vibrant campuses. I'm sure you'd all agree. But I think it's important to remember that just continue to be yourself and be involved in things that you're passionate about and find organizations that you really want to be involved with. And then also with your core curriculum, experiment with different classes. Take something that might be completely out of the norm for you and find out if that might be something, just like Shikori did with statistics, something that you might want to consider to major or minor in. And then again, like we said earlier, there's really no rush to do that. So make sure that you really find time to focus on your passions.
Perfect. And I guess this kind of is a similar question, but maybe it's different since it might be a little more personal. What are some things that you wish you knew before getting to Elon that you know now?
I wish that I would have known how just talented our student body is. And I often challenge myself to go to different sporting events or cultural events or visiting guest speakers. Or, for example, last semester I went to a visiting pianist, one of my favorite things of the semester. So I think just making sure that you take the time to recognize that, you'll find that the Elon community is very, very talented and special.
That's awesome.
For me, I think just the fact that you're going to be okay. Like, yes, it's a big transition. It can be kind of overwhelming just with the start of classes and lots of other things starting up. But you'll get acclimated. It'll be okay. Might take a little bit, but eventually you'll figure out your places on campus.
Perfect. So now we're actually going to move to the questions that you all are submitting for us. And we actually have one question now from Heather, and she wants to know what happens at orientation for incoming students. So thank you for the question, Heather.
Great question, Heather. So there is an orientation process for the spring. Like we mentioned, our winter term ends right around January 27th, and then we expect to see all of our transfers, our new transfers and spring students on campus on Saturday, Sunday, January 31st. So the way it'll work is you'll check in right around 10 a.m. on this day. You'll check into your residence hall as well. So you'll start to actually move all of your belongings into your residence hall. And then after that, the orientation process will begin. So that's about a 2-day experience. It'll start later that Monday, and it'll be programs that are designed to, one, give you some information about Elon. So things that, like, we're pretty much expansion of exactly what we're talking about here. But also, two, it's really going to be designed to let you meet some other people, other parts of the community. That'll roll over into Monday, which Monday morning will be our convocation, which, if you're not aware, this is one of, I'm sure, all of our favorite Elon traditions, where we will welcome you officially to campus. You'll also receive a small acorn, which I will let you either look it up or wait to hear about what exactly that means. But after that, you'll have orientation events throughout the day. You also have a farewell picnic right around noon on Monday the 1st, February 1st. And this is usually the last programming we have for parents and families. So any parents and families watching, this is usually when you will head back out, and then classes will start on February 2nd. So great question.
Awesome. So let's get to another question, and that is, can spring students become involved with fraternity and sorority life? Or in other words, Greek life on campus?
Yes, if they have been on campus at their other school, have taken at least 12 credit hours, and have at least a 2.7 GPA.
I went through the recruitment process last spring, and my little piece of advice would be also try to move into your dorm early, which
Yes.
You did not do.
Yes,
but
I
was
actually
able to
had. Yeah, I also went through the recruitment process in the spring last year, and I had to live off campus for a week, so that was a little crazy. So hopefully they'll let you move in early if you're able to do that.
Also, make sure you fill out the form I guess it's an application to go through the recruitment process.
Yeah, perfect.
And for those of you who aren't aware, the recruitment process happens about a week before spring orientation.
Yep, about a week before.
Perfect. Okay, we have another question from Lindsay, and she asks, can freshmen, first-year students, and it's your first time on campus, can you have a car? And if so, how does she go about registering for a parking permit?
Yes, you can have a car. I brought mine, but you need to register it.
I think it's the parking website.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
on the parking website, you'll need
really
a
simple.
sticker.
Yeah.
But it's pretty easy.
Yeah, just go pick it up at the Oaks whenever they get here.
Yeah, it is pretty convenient. I remember you can register online, and when you're on campus, you go pick it up and put a sticker on your car, and you're all set.
And information about that will be sent within your orientation mailings, which you'll receive sometime before January.
Perfect. Next question. Can transfer students study abroad?
Yes, absolutely. So transfer students can study abroad. It's really depends on when you want to go and also where you want to go. You could, like we mentioned earlier, we have a number of both domestic and overseas programs. So whether it's our Study USA, Study New York, Los Angeles, or whether it's a program at one of our affiliate schools overseas, you can. Another thing that's important to note for transfers, because oftentimes they might be coming in with a certain amount of credits, or they might be wanting to graduate by a certain date. You can go abroad during the spring, fall, summer, or also the winter term. So it really depends on when it will fit into your schedule is the most important part.
Perfect.
I think I would add to that just to, when you get to campus, if you're not studying abroad right away, when you get to campus, to meet with people in the GEC, our Global Education Center. And then also, once you start to think about your major, meet with faculty in that major, because study abroad at Elon, I think, is much more dynamic than maybe it was where you were. And there are majors that study abroad here that you would be surprised have deep and rich programs. So it's not always just the traditional things that you think you can do abroad, but that we're really making a concerted effort to get programs for almost all of our majors that you can do either your core curriculum things abroad, which I think is the narrative we have on campus. Most people think you can do that, but you can do classes in your major that you might be surprised about, internships, other kinds of experiences that may not have been available wherever you're transferring from.
Perfect. And this next question might also be for you, Dr. Gadgetts. When will I meet my academic advisor? So can you talk a little bit more about academic advising?
Yes, that's a good question. Well, you will meet there's not as far as I know, not an Elon 101 experience like there is in the fall for the spring, but you will be assigned an advisor when you get here. And the time that advisor might reach out to you would be around pre-registration. So I think if you're coming to campus for the first time, and you all might have different experiences of this, and please let me know. But when I get a new advisee, I don't always know where they're coming from. And so you might, in fact, one of mine just reached out to me and introduced themselves and said they would love to meet with me at the beginning of the next semester or whenever is convenient. So you'll be assigned an advisor when you get here, but they may not reach out to you until it's time for you to pre-register. And really, if you're new to Elon, reaching out to that person ahead of time would be best. And I imagine that you would get that information around orientation, but it's also available in On Track, which you will come to love and hate in equal measure when you get here on campus. Do you all know anything more about that, how that happens?
Yes, so that's the way to work. But for our first year spring students, so for our spring and midts and our first year spring, they will actually go through what's called our Elon 101 class.
Oh, you will go through that.
Transfers will not go through that class, but basically this is a 1 credit hour course that usually meet once or usually about once a week. And the whole theme here is that we just want to pretty much assimilate you with the community. It's a kind of an extension of the orientation period. Right. And your Elon 101 professor is your academic advisor until you declare your major, and then at which point.
So if you're coming to Elon for the first time or first year in the spring, you'll have Elon 101. This is good. See, we learn a lot from each other here at Elon. We never stop learning here at Elon.
But for transfer students, that's exactly how.
Right. Okay, good.
Perfect. We have another question, this one from Andrew, and he asks, is it possible to take your capstone class while abroad?
No. Your major capstone or your
I guess we
Elon
can answer
core
both,
capstone?
since there are kind of technically two. There's the core capstone and the major capstone, so maybe you can answer.
So that has changed in the last, so that it's news to some of our students. In the last few years, what used to be called GST became core. And the Elon core capstones, as you all will experience them, can only be taken on campus. And every student at Elon has to take them. It's the only thing that every student at Elon does, even core 110, if you come in the spring, you may not take. So it's our uniting thing, and you have to take it here. You can take it abroad in an Elon center. So we have centers in Florence and London and Costa Rica, and you could take what's called an Elon core capstone there in those centers, but it has to be taught by an Elon faculty member. I also think in the major, most of the capstones in the major would probably be taken on campus. I don't know if there are exceptions to that rule, but I would plan on that kind of thing.
Okay, so that might be good planning for Andrew. So if he wants to get capstone abroad, look at those Elon centers.
Look at those Elon centers, right?
Perfect. So I think we got time for one more question, and that will be, what specific resources does Elon have for academic support?
Well, there's the Writing Center, which I'm not sure I mentioned. I'm a literature minor, so I go there a lot. Lots of papers, and they're very helpful just going through it. And then I know there's others.
There's the tutoring center as well, and there's a lot of classes that have just like set tutoring hours. Like I know I'm a science major, so chemistry is one of those, and they have just set hours for the general chemistry classes that there are students who have done well in the classes that are there, and they're available for help. And I know there's a lot of other classes that have the tutoring services in the library.
And then lastly, like we talked about earlier, our academic advising office. So whether it be your specific advisor or just the general office, also the academic advising department is home to our disability services that offers a number of resources for students as well. That's one thing you would reach out to directly before you got here, but I think those are the big three.
I think you all covered it all, just as you covered everything else. So I think that wraps it up for us. What I do want to point out is that we are going to have a live web chat Tuesday, January 12th at 8:00 p.m. And so that it will be a little different from this. It won't be a live video session, but it will be a time where there'll be various departments on campus like financial planning, admissions, academic advising, new student and transition programs, where a lot of those offices will be on hand at 8:00 to be able to chat you live. So any questions that you have, that would be a great time to get answers from those departments. So we encourage you to take advantage of that on January 12th. And also anytime in between then, before then, after then, the Are You Ready website is also a great resource for information as well. It's your go-to spot for really anything else that you'll need to know as you prepare for getting on campus in the spring. So from all of us, thank you so much for joining us. We are really excited to have you all on campus, and we hope that this was informative, and we look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thank you.